this works.
You are live, baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are. This is the What's up, everybody? I'm here with my main man, my good man, Mr. Eric, the main man. Lawson right there, right there. Everybody give him a round of applause. Clap, 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 clap.
Uh-huh.
But nah, man. Yo, I forgot to do my intro. Jesus, man. All right, let me do my intro real quick.
All right, do
This is the
your
In Your Face Show. And I'm bringing to y'all some of the most, some of the, some of the goodies up in the industry, man. Yo, I got a big guy up in here, man. He coming to y'all live with some raw, uncut shit here, man. You know what I'm saying?
all right.
Let's go along with it, baby. You know what I'm saying? All right, I got a couple questions, what I
Uh-huh.
want to ask, because I've been curious of what was the image guys thinking, man, when they left Marvel. What was y'all thinking? What was your thoughts, man?
Um, More than anything, it was just we wanted to be able to own our own characters and do whatever we want to with our characters.
True, true, true.
And that was
That's
that was that was the bottom line. I mean, when you're working for Marvel or working for DC or whatever, those characters are going to be owned by and controlled by those companies because if they own them, then they're toys, and we didn't want to give away the characters that we created.
true that, true that, true that, true that. True. True on that. That's what a lot of us in the indie circuit go through. We want to own our own, we want to build our own legacies and hello? Hello? Did it just happen? Technical difficulties. I don't know what just happened. The hell is going on? Oh, everybody, he said his computer went blank. You had situations, man. Um, Technical difficulties, things happen. Just going to sit here and wait, but it's good to have him on. Just to school the up and coming guys, give the guys what they need to succeed. Coming into coming into the industry, you want to know what the you want to have the knowledge coming into this industry. You know what I'm saying? It's rough, and my years coming in here, man, it was rough. Phew. But I finally got my first book out, but so I understand what up and comers go through. But he's going to tell it better on what you can do and what you should do when it comes to coming in and getting your stuff out. He'll be back in a second, guys. But yeah, you know, I've been I've been waiting to give this to y'all for a while, man, because to give this to the fans that have been asking me for it, that been supporting me from day one. I've been holding this for a while now, and I just I'm just waiting for him to come back so we can chop it up more to get this thing out. Everybody's been asking me why my co-host is not on. Well, my co-host just it had some personal issues going on, and it just didn't work out. Things just happen for a reason. Um, I won't go into detail what happened, but what I will say is it's his loss, and you know we're gonna rock out whether you're here or not. Hey, it is what it is. Yeah, just waiting on the guy, my guest, waiting on Eric. Do, 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 do. When he comes back, I'm sorry about that. When he comes back, I'm gonna ask him we start this live over. I don't want to I don't want to do this whole thing and he's not here. I don't want to waste the time. Sorry for the wait, guys. This is um, you know, damn. So I'm just waiting here, looking at myself in the camera. Woo, this is weird as shit. But yeah, we're talking, and he's trying to reboot his computer and everything, and he said it hasn't happened in a while. So just sitting here waiting on him to get back on. This it happened on his end, technical issues, but yeah, yeah, this is wild. I don't know what to say right now. This haven't happened to me in a while, so you know, this is the first time computers clicked off. You know what I'm saying? Still waiting. Still waiting. I'm just waiting on them to come on back. He'll be back in a second, everybody. Uh, oh, just messing with you. Try to brighten up the mood and crack a joke or two.
It's working.
Oh, you back? You back?
God, that took forever.
Hey man, I was here just
Oh
talking to
my,
myself the whole entire time, man.
oh my
Just,
God, that's terrible.
it's okay,
Jesus,
man.
sorry about that.
Shit happens, man. Shit happens, man.
Wow,
Hey,
that
you
was
back
brutal.
now.
That's like, oh man, I had so much. Yeah, I get working on so much stuff, and I have so much stuff. Like, okay, I got Photoshop open, and then I got previews or whatever open. And then with this, I can't get on from Safari, so I got to go on from Chrome. But then it's like I got it, so I go to Safari and copy and paste the URL, and then I go on Chrome. It's like, oh brother.
Hey, man. Shit happens, bro. Well, how about this? How about this? How about we get on with the get on with the show
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just to get the people back up in it. You know what I'm saying? I was
All right.
sitting here for like a couple, like 20 minutes, just talking to myself here, talking to the people who's watching. I bet they were like, "What the fuck
Hopefully,
is going on?"
hopefully the world is not ended here.
But it's okay. It's okay. Nah. So what we're going to say? What I wanted to ask you. Okay. What was your inspiration growing up? You know, to do comics and stuff like that.
Um, well, my dad read comics when he was a little kid, and he collected comics, so we kind of grew up with a bunch of comic books around all the time. So he kind of let us look at all his old comics when we were way too young to be looking at his old comics. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We weren't taking care of anything. So my brother would be reading comics, and he'd wake up with a copy of Uncle Scrooge all wrapped around his face. And he just destroyed all these great comics.
Well, damn. Well, I mean, things like that.
That got me going. That got me like, oh, I like the artwork. I like this. At some point, I had bought a comic book, so I had like a smattering of comics, like one issue of Iron Man and one issue of The Incredible Hulk. My dad was a big Captain Marvel fan when he was a kid, so he bought a when Shazam when DC was doing Shazam comimes. He was there to get that. He was like, "Oh, he's back! This is awesome."
Shoot that.
So we just had a smattering of new comics, and then we had his old comics, and I just, for whatever reason, took to it. And I was, drawing as a real little kid, and in grammar school and stuff like that. So there'd always be like, since you excel in stuff, then you have people around you who are going, "Oh, hey, that's pretty good." And then that's like, "Oh, I'm being encouraged. That is awesome." And so you just start doing more of what makes people happy. So it's like, "Oh, I'll do this because I want this positive everything."
Right. And see, and I grew up like that too, where like, I grew up drawing, and just drawing what I wanted to draw. And a lot of people are like, I wish I learned how to draw. I'm like, yeah, but it takes a while to learn it.
Some people take to it more than other people take to it. Some people,
yeah,
they're not quick studies, and it can take them a long amount of time to
yeah.
get good. And
Like,
other people are like, they seem to have a facility to it, and they can get there a little quicker. So that's good. But
like,
I mean, with most anything, it's just you gotta do it. If you're not actually producing work and you're not getting stuff done, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right, stagnant, very stagnant.
So
yeah,
just practice and keep going.
Yeah, and that's what I said on my other show, on my last show, is that if you're so stagnant and you're not just putting the work out, and you're just basically just sitting there just waiting for somebody to do it for you, you ain't gonna get nowhere.
No,
you're not gonna get nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I mean, at least early on, it's all about volume, man. It's all about like, if I could do a page an hour, let me do a page an hour. I'm just gonna crank this out, and it's like, oh, it's terrible. But you get to that rhythm of, oh, I can get this done in a certain amount of time, and I can get and you can finesse it all later. You can figure out, okay, well, I can refine what I've done here. But I see these guys, and they're like noodling away on one picture, and they've been doing it for a month, and it's like, that's a pretty awesome picture you got there, buddy. But you want to do monthly comics, it's not going to cut it, because you gotta make some comics. You got to do some volume, buddy.
Yeah, I see, and that's what I learned. Is that speed kills. You know what I'm saying? Having some speed with it. And I used to be a slow drawer because I used to draw a lot of characters and not a lot of, because see, I'm not a storyboard drawer.
You got to do that.
I'm just
tell stories.
Yeah. I can write them out, but for some reason I can't really do the storyboard. What I could do is just do the characters and draw out the characters and just draw and write the story. That's just, I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. You know what I mean? But it's just, having that confidence to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You have to have top confidence. You have to believe in yourself while doing it, because you know, if you have low confidence, it shows in your work. You
Yeah.
know, you know. So okay, next question. What made you like the question before your computer shut off? What made you?
Yeah, what the hell's wrong, buddy? I got a question for you.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right. I've been doing a lot of research, man, and okay. Now let me skip over that question that I was going to ask. Oh, man, I know that little
Whatever you want.
word.
I'm here.
All right. Okay. So out of all the characters that you have done, what
Mhm.
was the most hardest, and what was the most easiest to do?
Um, probably the most difficult, just because it was such a pain in the ass, was I did an issue of Supreme that Alan Moore wrote, and it's just too much, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Sitting there going, his scripts are so long that I was just like, there's just pages and pages and pages describing one panel. What the hell? Just what do I draw here?
yeah.
So
It's
that was,
just
and there was nothing in there that ended up being. I ended up just using a highlighter and just being like, okay, this is what you need to do. But it was a lot of reading to distill it down to what the hell am I drawing here? It's just way too much explanation. Just let's cut this down to something minimal, you know.
right, right.
So that was difficult. I'm trying to think if there was any other comics. Occasionally there'll be a panel that'll just throw me. I'll just be like, God, how do I do this? I don't know how to do it. What do I do here? And if you can't find reference online or can't do anything, it's like, holy crap, there's stuff you're capable of. You know, and
Yeah,
usually it's dopey stuff like, hey, draw an animal or draw a car or draw this real place or try and get this likeness of this actual human being. It's like, holy crap.
yeah. I feel what you said, man.
You
Because
know,
you know it's crazy because when I'm doing my characters, right, and it's like sometimes it takes a little while just to get a hand down. And I'm like, damn, just to get a hand the way you want to get it. It's like it just you were like, then you gotta erase it, then you gotta do it again, then you gotta erase it again. And like, damn, I
yeah,
don't want it the way like that, you know?
well,
But and that's learning to be being an artist.
imagine 40 years of that, and there's my career.
Hell yeah, man. Oh my
It's
god,
like,
dude. I'm 33 and I'm still learning how to do certain shit.
well,
Oh
this
man.
a lot of stuff too is once you've been doing this for a little while, what'll happen is you'll get a certain rhythm with doing stuff where you go, oh, I can draw this hand. I can draw this hand easy. This hand's a snap. I can draw this hand easy. This one's a snap. And then eventually you'll get like, it's just locked in. You can just be like, all right, I got to draw a hand. Blap, there's a hand. But you end up is falling into these ruts of going, oh, but now I'm drawing the same hand again and again and again and again, or I'm drawing the same face from the same angle. I'm using the same lighting. I've drawn a similar punch 100 times before. Then the real challenge is how do I reinvent the wheel and come at this and do pages that don't look like anything I've ever done before?
Right,
And
right.
that becomes a real like, well, there's this one thing that you can do pretty well and you can do it in, sleepwalking, but you keep doing the same thing over and over again, the same way over and over again. It's going to get boring for you, and that's going to be boring for the readers. So, you got to find a way to reinvent yourself again and again and again. And it's like, holy crap, that's not necessarily that easy,
Yeah,
especially
man.
if you've been doing this for a while, you know?
Yeah,
This point, I've been at this for at this for a couple years. And
Yeah.
before I broke in, I started drawing my own comics when I was a little kid. So I was like in fourth grade when I started drawing comics, and I would just take 8.5 by 11 paper and I'd fold it up the side and I'd staple it up the side, and it's like that looks just like a comic book. This is awesome. So I just
Oh
started
man.
drawing my own stories right like that, super small, and that was how it
Right.
was. And I always wanted to work for Marvel Comics, so I just wrote
Uh-huh.
Marvel Comics Group on the top, and I just went with it. And at some point, it was, some friend was like, "Marvel Comics, dude, that's not very original." I was like, "Oh, right."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't have any room, so I just put a little S Sergeant next to it, SGT, and then I ended up creating a character called Sergeant Marvel to justify using the name Sergeant Marvel.
Oh
That's
wow.
around,
I
but
mean, it's it's crazy because I do the same thing you do where I can see something and what I
yeah,
do is basically like, oh shit, I can make a character out of that. You know what I mean? And
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Awesome.
like, and
Oh, and
yeah,
sometimes it comes from a name where somebody will say something, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's kind of a cool name for a character." I
yeah,
can make
yeah,
something out of that. Somebody
yeah,
just like, "I want to eat an open face sandwich." Open face. Oh, that's an awesome name. I gotta make a character.
yeah, exactly. Like, and then you be like, well, I want copyright. And then you find out it's copyright. You're like, damn, shit.
Well, or you just steal it and hope nobody notices or whatever. I mean, actually, as long as the title of your book isn't something that somebody's used before, you can kind of get away with it with characters on the inside of a book, as long as you're not putting it on the cover or putting it in solicitation copy. It's like I've got a character that I'm using that's in the public domain, Daredevil, and but it's the Daredevil from the 1940s, right? Which is in
Hmm.
the public domain. It's like anybody can use it. Well, you can't use the name Daredevil on the cover of your comic because Marvel Comics has got a Daredevil. So then you just
Right.
go, all right, well, if I name him something on the cover, there'll be something, whatever. I just use the dynamic Daredevil on the cover. It's
Yeah.
like, that's fine, right? They didn't
Yeah.
sue me, so I guess I'm all right.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like,
on Superiors, I just call him Daredevil.
right. It's crazy because I always get that I always get that people look at the title of my comic, right? They be like,
Yeah.
Jarhead, ain't that about the movie? I'm like, no, it's my own rendition of Jarhead. You know what I mean? And then they
Whatever.
find out the actual story of it, and then they're like, that's totally different then. You
Yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah. Just as
Yeah,
long as you're not doing the same thing, same way, it's like
yeah,
you
it's
can get away with it. I mean, there was
yeah,
a
it's just
movie called the Deadpool or something like that years ago,
hmm
and it's like that didn't stop them from coming up with a character called Deadpool. And then
right,
now there's movies called Deadpool that's about the comic book character. So
right, exactly. And okay. So all right, got another question for you. Okay. What was your first experience with failure, man?
uh, I haven't had that happen yet. Well, no, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I mean, okay, what was your
Like
first
personal life or
I
whatever.
I mean, if you want to get into it, I mean, you know what I mean, but I mean, I would say, okay, in your
I
the
mean,
one,
in professional life, it's like there's failure all day long, every day. There's constantly like, oh, I'm trying to draw this drawing and I can't figure it out. That's failure.
yeah,
You want to when you're breaking in and you want to be on certain books and you go, yeah, how about I draw this book? This is my always been my favorite book. It's like, and you don't get it, that's failure. But you just pick yourself up and go. It's like you got other stuff you got to get done. So if you can't
yeah,
get in this way, then get in that way. I sent Marvel submissions for years and years and years before they finally said, all right, you know, and that's just the way of the world is it, you can't get what you want every time you want it. So, you know, make do with what you got and work your way up to the whatever, you know.
True that. True that. True that.
But
Okay.
it's like when I
Okay.
was in Marvel, it's, you know, people would ask like, "Hey, how come you don't do the Hulk? I know you're a great big Hulk fan." It's like because every time I pitched to do the book, I never got it. That's why I don't do it. You know, I've asked to do it a few times, and
Yeah.
it never came around. So I'll, you know, whatever. I got other things I like doing too, so I'll do some of those. You know, and at
True.
this point, it's been, you know, 30 years since I was exclusively a Marvel guy. So, you know, I've been pretty much just doing image stuff since. So at this point, you know, the only one I can blame is myself, you know? So,
I
hey,
mean,
something cool. You want to do that? All right. I love to do that. I'll do that all day long. Awesome. It's a good thing you like trying dragon guy. Sure is.
I mean, uh, okay. I got a question for you. All right, just a question. I know I'm
I'm
bugging with the
going to
questions, but
assume that these will all be questions. You don't need to
no, I'm just, going with the flow. You know what I'm
all right.
saying?
All right. Whatever you got.
Okay. What are your motivations? What motivates you?
I don't have any idea what motivates me. You know what it is? I like having stuff that exists. I like having like a stack of comics that I created. That
Uh-huh.
more than anything is I like the final product. I like that be able to hold something in my hand and be like, this is done. I have created this thing. It exists now, where there was nothing before. The actual sitting down and drawing part can be uh, infuriating at times, you know, where it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't have inspiration. What do I do? And so there ends up being this kind of constant search for inspiration that goes on in my life, where I'm constantly like, there must be something else out there. What am I not looking at? What am I not doing in my work? How can I make this look more interesting? What can I do to change things up and make this different? You know, because I don't want people to just be like, oh, this guy does this one thing and so I'm getting bored with it. It's like let me try a billion different things. And it's like I'm you know working on the next Savage Dragon issue right now, and it doesn't look like the previous one. It looks pretty different. And it's just me just going, let me try out some different stuff.
I
Um,
mean, I got an idea I could give you, not a problem. Why not give them some scales?
I,
Scales
I,
to put on the skin.
I'm not doing
More
it. I'm not
detail.
crazy. But I'll be like, let me try a different approach for this page, or let me try a different approach for this issue. You know, there's always different artists whose work I'm into, and so it's like, all right, well, look at somebody different this time. If that's not working for you, you know, there's old books I like, and there's old stuff. I'm constantly looking outside comics to see if there's something else I can bring into it. You know, there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
True, true, true. I
You know, do
mean,
the best you can.
yeah. I mean, it's a good way to go about it. I see. See what I've been watching from Image is originality. You know what I'm saying? And I've been following Spawn and Savage Dragon and Pit. Who else? Who else?
Been a little
Man,
while between issues on that one.
yeah. See, I see, and this is a crazy thing. I love big, bulky characters. It's a infatuation with them. Like Hulk, and
I
is
like drawing that stuff. I like,
yeah,
you know, big old gnarly fists and everything. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
that's fun stuff.
Yeah, because
Which is weird that I ended up on Spider-Man because that's not my cup of tea. That's not really my wheelhouse. So working on Spider-Man meant bringing in a lot of different influences that weren't necessarily by the side of my bedside. I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, I read Steve Ditko comics all day long." But when Spider-Man kicked around, it's like you better get all that stuff, and you better be studying it, and better be bringing in some new influences and trying out some stuff. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna just absorb all the best Spider-Man stuff and then try and regurgitate it onto the page. So do the best I can with it.
well, we go through that. Do you go through like where like you have like those a brain fart where you just oh man, like you
No,
just
I had a huge one recently, huge with I had an artist block here that was
yes.
pretty,
Oh my
pretty
God, I
severe.
have those all the
And,
time.
and it was like really a couple months of serious like, what the hell am I even doing here? Sitting there, not being able to produce the way I've been able to produce for my entire career, and suddenly I'm hitting a dry spell. It's like, holy crap! I just launched Ant. I got 2 books I'm supposed to be getting done, and I'm not getting anything done. This is
Right,
like the
man.
worst possible time that this could have hit, because other times I've been able to do more than 1 book a month, and now it's just like, holy crap! I can't even do a single book a month, much less two. Um,
Oh,
but I'm coming through it. So
well, hey, we all have those times because we're
yeah,
artists, man. We're artists, so we go through that. I mean, like, I got something to ask you, man. Like, when coming into Image Comics, man, like, what was it like being called comic book rock stars, being
whatever,
celebrities, being being big celebrities, you
whatever. I
know?
mean, it's the same old gang of guys giving each other crap the same way they were before. So it was a
I
little
mean,
weird going to conventions and suddenly people were like super into it. But
hmm
I mean, my day to day existence didn't change because I'm still in a room by myself making comics. So the and it's a weird kind of fame because it's the kind of fame where if I walk into this room, I'm the most famous guy in the world. If I walk out of this room, nobody knows who the hell I am. you know?
yeah,
So it's a really strange kind of fame. I can walk down the street and nobody knows. It's not like I'm sitting there, oh, I got to put on funny glasses or something. Nobody knows who the hell I am. But when when I'm at a comic book convention, everybody knows who I am. So it's a strange kind of thing, a strange kind of fame to have.
well,
But it's nice in that respect, because you can turn that stuff off. If you couldn't go into a store and buy a pair of socks, that would be bad news. You know,
true, true.
this is like I can walk around and function, and my wife can give me shit, and my buddies can give me shit, and then I go to a convention, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm in the same room as you. It's like, oh, whatever, dude. That's my wife.
And see, that's the thing, us growing up, us young, well, I'm 33, I'm
oh,
damn near
oh
old, so
God, 33. I can't imagine being 33. What's that like?
no, but no, it's
Those
just
are a few
like,
years back for me, buddy.
yeah, it's like with us growing up, knowing about y'all guys and learning about who y'all was and what y'all did, man. It's like we looked up to you guys, man. We wanted to be y'all, we wanted to do what y'all did.
Well, please do.
I mean, see, and this is the thing. I have my own company as well.
Yeah.
Um, that's
Let's see
that's
how to
something.
do it. If you can do it
Yeah,
that
because
way and you can make it work, by all
hell
means.
yeah, yeah, because it's a lot of the stuff that I wanted to do. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it in other companies. You know what I'm saying? The type of stuff
Oh
that I'm
yeah.
doing now, like with Jarhead. Jarhead is going in a direction of the way I wanted to go instead of going in a direction where, you know what I'm saying, where somebody
Yeah,
would
no,
tell
I
you,
totally. I'm in the same
yeah,
boat. I'm in the same boat. I couldn't do what I've done on my book at Marvel or at DC or anywhere. First of
right,
all, they'd own it and they could decide tomorrow, oh, you're just not right guy for this book. And it's like, what? No. And that's the end of it. Um,
right,
but second, I've decided, hey, I'm going to set my book in real time. So 30 years have passed for the characters in the comic. It's like you can't do that at Marvel or DC. Have a book that just set in real time where the rest of the company is not playing that game. You can't do that. And you certainly couldn't be blowing your deadlines as badly as I have in the last couple of months and still have the assignment at the end of it.
yeah. I mean, I've blown a lot of deadlines when it comes to my
It's
stuff.
like if you're the guy and it's your book and it's all the world's going to have to wait if you're not feeling it. And I hate that's a thing, but
I
you
mean,
know,
okay, so okay, true that, true that. So, like, what would be the advice that you would give to the up and coming guys that's doing their first book? Like, what would you give like to them?
if you're doing your first book and you're just starting, make your first issue self-contained. Because if that ends up being your only issue, it'd be nice to have some closure there. At least have it that when you're just starting out. It's nice to have ambition and it's nice to have big plans, but at least on your very first one, make it so that you got a beginning, a middle, and end. Introduce your characters, whatever, but don't end on a cliffhanger because you don't know for sure that you're going to be able to get the next one done. Don't be so ambitious that it's like people go, hey, did you have all this comics worked out from the beginning? And it's like, no, because that would be insane. you know
Right,
it's like
right,
I had some ideas and there was things that I definitely wanted to do and stuff I wanted to get to, but
right.
you can't work out every single detail of a comic that runs 30 plus years beforehand because that's madness. So it's like I come in here and go, all right, let me get my first issue done. And then when that came out and it was successful enough, it's like, all right, let's keep going with this thing and just go issue by issue. But it's like, make your first issue self-contained, have your first issue be entertaining. If you never done comics before at all, try doing some short stories. It's like, oh, I don't know how to compose a whole 20-page story. What do I even do? It's like, okay, then compose a 3-page story. Work on that.
Right,
Can you write a scene at all?
right,
Just do scenes then. Block out little small, like, all right, this is a beginning, middle, and end. I can do a
right.
sequence of these two guys having a conversation. All right, great. Now I've got my 3 pages done. Like, all right, now let's see if you can add to that and expand on that and put more to it. All right, now you got that. Great. But I think the most important part is just to get the damn thing done, and that's the biggest hurdle that most people have on any of this stuff is just get it done. Get it done. It's like, oh, if you got to do 20 pages, well, then do 20 shitty pages. And they can be awful and then be like, well, okay, but I'm done.
Right,
It's terrible, but I'm
right.
done. And you can go, okay, well, I've got it done, but it's terrible. I don't want to release something that's terrible. It's like, all right, well, what's the worst part about it? Well, this page is pretty bad. Okay, well, why don't you redraw that page? All right, now you've got one great page and 19 crappy pages. All right, well, maybe you want to refine this bit over here and work on that stuff over there. It's like it's done when you send it to the printer. Until that time, you can just work away at it and chip away at this. And, if this panel isn't working, but the rest of the page is, well, then cut out another hunk of paper and paste it on top and have that be the new panel. There's no rules in any of this stuff. You just need to get the damn thing done.
True that. True that.
You know?
That's well said.
And that's the thing I run into more than anything else with new guys is that they just can't get anything done. It's like,
Yeah.
I've got this cool pinup. It's like, awesome. Try to draw a 4-page story. That's it. Just 4 pages. I've done this where I've had various guys do backups in my comic. And it's just like there are these guys who are aspiring artists, basically, and it's like, all right, well, let me give you a bare bones, like a plot. Here's an idea of a story. Here, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. See if you can make something of this. And some guys can do it, and some guys they can't, and they never do it. So I've had a few guys that I've written stories for, never delivered, just never materialized. So it's like, all right, that's how that works sometimes. So
I mean, that's how things go, I guess. Because
yeah.
when you're putting down your own stuff, you feel like, oh man, you can get this done anytime. You have all the time in the world, but when you're doing it for somebody else, it's like, damn, I gotta get it done. Hurry up and get this done. Like, what was the most difficult timeline, like deadline you ever had? The deadliest one.
Well, I did a 24-hour comic where you have to write, pencil, and ink a comic in one day. I've done that, 24 pages in 24 hours. That's some extreme stuff. But that wasn't, I mean, at the time, it wasn't necessarily, the thought was, I'm going to publish this thing. I did publish it, but that wasn't the thought going into it. It was just to take up the challenge and see what it could do with it. But in terms of like regular Marvel, DC, whatever comics, I've done issues in a week where it needed to be done. It's like, at one point I was drawing Spider-Man and Thor and Savage Dragon, and I did that for 3 months.
Then you just burned out, didn't you?
That was hellacious. That was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this thing? And then I followed that up with doing the Defenders and laying out a Fantastic Four maxi series. And in the middle of that, I hit a wall, and I got really sick. I was just pushing myself too much, and I ended up with pneumonia and bronchitis. I was just laid up in bed for like 6 weeks. It's fucking terrible.
That's
the other hand, while I was laid up in bed, I drew 66 pages, so that worked all right.
Yeah, that's woo. That's shit. I'm like, fuck it, man. I'm done, man. I ain't
yeah, it's just like, man, you gotta get going. It's like all this stuff.
And I learned that because I'm starting to do my writing, right? Not starting to do my writing. What I do is I write, I write now, I stopped drawing for a while now, but I
Mhm.
do my writing and stuff like that to focus on that and to be great at writing now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you want to be very like well rounded in this
Oh,
industry.
yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I
You
mean?
want to be able to do everything. If you can,
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, the person you can rely on the most is yourself, you
Mhm.
know? So
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, maybe my buddy will get my story drawn, or maybe he won't. But I can count on myself to get my stuff done.
Yeah. Can you count on somebody else?
I don't know, like when I bought Ant from Mario Gully, it's like, oh, maybe I should get somebody else to draw this book and stuff like that. And I ended up just going, you know what? I don't think I can count on somebody else to deliver this thing. So I'm just gonna do what I can do. And I decided, all right, I'm gonna do this myself, whatever. I'll just do it. So
And you
that's
did
been
it.
fun.
I mean, shoot, like the way you do it, is man, big ups to people like you yourself because y'all the grinders, man. Y'all grind twice as much as That's
Well,
why.
that's the gig. That's the job. And at this point, I mean, I guess it's always been this point. I don't have anything else. That's what I got. That's my career. I'm not. This isn't a job that I'm doing on the side and fitting in between other work that's paying the bills. This is the bills. This is what's paying the bills. This
Right, true
does
that, true
everything
that.
that I need it to. This is a living. I, you know,
Right,
I I was able to buy a house because I did comic books.
right.
You know,
Very
like, ah,
understandable.
it's cool.
So, like, I seen the many awards you got back then. Tell the people what kind of awards you got doing
Uh,
comics.
Whatever. I got it. I got an ink pot back here, and I got a what else is that? I got some else. I don't even know. I got a wizard thing there somewhere back there. What was it? There's an ink pot. No, it's an ink. Something else with ink in it. I don't know.
I mean, it's see, and that's that's what I wanna achieve. Awards
Yeah,
one day. I want to get to your level. And look, still got some learning to do. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Still got
Well,
learning.
it doesn't happen overnight. It's all right. It's all good. You
Yeah,
know.
man.
It
It takes
just the most important thing is to keep moving, keep producing work, keep getting stuff done. That's what it
true.
is more than anything else. Is that, just don't stop and be like, oh, I'm going to take a year off. It's like, yeah, you know what? That year is going to be the rest of your life because
Through that.
that's kind of how that works. You got to be
Yeah.
honing your craft every goddamn month in, month out. You know, that's the only way you're going to get there. It's like wanting to walk up the top of a mountain and never getting on the mountain. It's like, no, no, no. You got to get on the mountain. You're not going to get to the top without going up the mountain. That's how that works.
Right. Do that. Do that. And that's a very good situation. It's good. Blah, 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 blah. That's a good thing to say. It's a good one to
Yeah. Well,
say.
I
I
mean, more than
mean,
anything, it's like you just get going. Just get
and
some.
yes, like that's what I tell a lot of guys in the industry, man. And I see a lot of guys with so much talent and potential, man. And I see, to be honest, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I see a lot of guys with the most crappiest work, and they get so many accolades. And I'm like, if they can make it, you can make it.
Well, the
And
difference is those guys who get with the crappy stuff that are getting accolades. It's because they made the crappy stuff. It
yeah,
exists. It's like, oh, there's this thing. It exists. So people can read it and see it and whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm way more talented there than they are, but I'm not producing anything. Well, then who gives a shit? That doesn't
Right.
do anybody any good. You actually have to produce something. And
True
it's
that.
like, I mean, you go to anything. I think everybody goes to one of those, fine art things, and it's just somebody flinging paint on a wall. It's like, what the hell's that? Any idiot can do that. It's like, yeah, but any idiot isn't. You got to be the idiot who's doing it. That's it. That's
Yeah.
how.
Yeah, you're right.
That's how.
Telling the truth.
You're not going to get successful if you don't. If you don't do it, you're not going to hit a home run if you don't step up to the plate.
Right, man. And that's one of the things that I've seen a lot of guys, take full control, and I've seen so many guys move, from top to top. I'm like, damn, how they getting up so quick? And I'm like, man, damn, they grinding, and that
Yeah,
is something that inspires me even more, because I'm a cocky guy. I'm a cocky, confident guy, honest. I understand I'm a
yeah.
confident,
All right.
and I believe I know I did some good work for Jarhead, and that's something that I take pride in, You got to
Yeah, yeah,
take
yeah.
pride in your work.
Sure.
Yes, because that's something that you've got to do. If you don't do it, you're gonna be regretting that. If you don't do it, you're gonna be regretting. Oh, I
Yeah.
should have done this. I should have done that. Well, you should have done it, and you didn't do it.
You didn't do
And
that thing. What are you doing?
exactly, what are you doing? You just sitting there like, damn, I should have. Now I'm looking at my enemy getting it. And now I'm not getting it. So it's like, damn, man.
Yeah,
Like,
man. I just wanted to have a stack of comics that I drew, and that was when I was a little kid. It was all about like I would draw my own crappy comics. It was like I'm going to produce. I want to have two now. I want to have three. I want to have 10. So like eventually, I had like 70 or 80 comics that I had drawn as when I was a real little kid. It's just a big stack of stuff, and it was like, look what I've done, volume. This is awesome. And
yeah,
then
man. Like,
now it's like, oh, I've done 260 whatever issues of Savage Dragon. It's like, oh, that's awesome. And I can have a stack of artwork that's as tall as a human at this point.
hey, man. That's why,
I've got tons and tons of art at this point.
yes, man. And see, like, like that's why I said doing that character, Jarhead, is
Mhm.
like it come from within, from your heart.
Oh,
All of these
sure.
characters come from childhood. A lot of
Yeah.
that comes from your heart, and a lot
Oh,
of that
yeah.
comes from your childhood and what you've been
Mhm.
through. And a lot of that is a lot of that can be good work if you put the time in it. You know, that's what
Yeah.
you never
Yeah.
thought.
You
And
got to do the work, though.
exactly. And like it's just I never understood how people never give. See, I see a lot of guys that are lazy in the industry. They're lazy. They get one book done and they get all the accolades and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm done, man. No, you
Yeah.
you see, you got something going right there. Why don't you keep going? Keep
Yeah.
pushing, keep
Yeah.
striving, man.
Yeah.
Look, like I told you, man. Like it's like I've seen a lot of guys do good on Kickstarter, right?
Hmm.
And you gotta if you got backers backing you, going crazy for you, then keep doing the work. Keep doing the work that makes them happy.
I know it. It's like, dude, no, keep going. More, more.
Yeah, like so. What are your recent most characters you're doing now?
Well, I'm continuing to do Savage Dragon. So that book
Okay.
is, uh, it's constant flow of new villains and new characters that are coming in and out of that book constantly. And that's because, like I said, I set it in real time. So characters are getting older. So I started off with one character, and now it's the son of the original Savage Dragon is the main character in the book. And at this point, it's like I introduced him in issue 33, and now he's what, 25, 26 years old or something. It's like,
Hey, he's an
you
old
know,
grandpa.
so it's like, yeah. So, and he's a dad now. So he's got his own kids that are running around. And so it's
He's
like,
an
all
old.
right, I'm prepping the next generation while I've got the other generations, kicking around. So, and then I bought character Ant from Mario Gully, and it was a character that he had done himself years and years and years ago, and he brought it over to Image at one point, and he did 11 issue run on that, and then kind of went over and started doing stuff at Marvel, and was kind of in and around doing comics. And at some point, he decided he wanted to sell a character, and he just asked if I was interested in buying it. I'm like, this is not something that I had thought of ever, of buying somebody else's comic book character, but all right. if you want it to sell it. He just didn't want to do it anymore. He clearly was not getting any work done on it, and he needed some cash. And I was like, all right, well, how much do you want for it? And he told me his asking price, and I paid that. There was no negotiating or anything like that. It was just, I want this. Here you go. All right.
Yeah,
But
and
I mean, it's like it was a nice payday for him. But I always liked the visual of the character, and there was bits and pieces of his stories. I was like, yeah, this part really works, and this part over here doesn't work quite so well. And when he brought it over to Image, initially I was the publisher at the time, so the two of us had talked about it extensively. Of, all right, well, you could do this and you could do that. And there's different ways of doing these stories. And then I think that's probably why he contacted me, because at the end of it, it was like, well, I know you put a lot of thought into this character because we talked about her for hours. So, if you have any interest in buying this character, it's like, all right. He had somebody else who was interested in it, and he was like, I'd rather you do it because I like what you had going on more than this other guy.
hell yeah.
It's like, all right, I'll do that. So, it took me a couple of years before I actually got it together enough to be able to start up the book. But, it's been going all right. So can't complain. I just need to get it done. Like else, like, just do the damn work, buddy. Go.
So let me ask you something. Like, and I know y'all was ailing, man. Y'all like, how did y'all market and promote your work, man? Like,
well, at the time, Wizard magazine was a big deal, and we had kind of made a decent name for ourselves at Marvel. So when it was the top guys stepping off the top books at Marvel, starting their own company, the press came to us, So we were on like CNN. They interviewed us because Marvel's stock took a tumble when we left.
damn.
And then, all the comic books press, there was the Buyer's Guide, there was Wizard magazine, and there was Hero Illustrated, and there was a bunch of different ones, and all those guys, they wanted us, so they were asking us questions and stuff like that. And these days, they're just Facebook exists, and Twitter's out there, and all these other things, so it's pretty easy to get into the face of a few thousand people pretty quickly these days, be able to get out there. So that's worked out.
I mean,
plus, books are being solicited. So, Diamond previews will be out there every month saying, hey, the new issue of Savage Dragon's coming out, and this is going to be out this time, and it's going to have this going on, and stuff like that.
Well, man, like that's because I don't know. I don't, like
It's
I always
harder
thought
in
about.
your position. It's harder as a guy who's like, I'm just doing my own thing on my, I'm printing this
Hmm.
myself, and I've got the stack of stuff and I want it to sell. I got to go to a million conventions and get this going. That's tougher, and I've been on that end too because I self-published a comic called Graphic Fantasy when I was 19-year-old kid, and my dad owned a printing press because he was teaching workshops, and he was printing up handouts for his workshops. So I was his press man, and it was just a crappy tabletop offset press. But it's at some point I was like, I'll bet I could print comic books on this thing. And so there was a convention coming up, and it was like me and a couple of buddies, we're gonna all pitch in and make a comic book. And those guys weren't that fast, and they were kind of struggling to get their stuff done. So I ended up going, well, I will ink your story, and I will ink your story, and we'll make this happen. So I ended up inking everybody's stuff, and then did some lettering and did some everything else, and I did the color seps for the cover and printed this up, and it was just it was god awful, but it was done. I mean, the night before the convention, we were up printing and collating all the pages and putting it all in order and stapling it all, and the comics were like, the next day we brought it to the show, and it's like, hey, did you buy those guys sticky comic? And it was still wet. Like, we had just printed this thing. So it was like, it wasn't trimmed properly, and it was sticky, and it was just ugly. And so we wanted to get it done for the show, and we had it, and we gave some away to people, and we sold some there at the convention, and that was the start. We had a local store. At that time, I was living up in Bellingham, Washington, and there was a local store called King Arthur's, and they agreed to sell our crappy comic through their place. And we just, the hey, did you guys buy this new comic that came out through our, whatever local guys? So they would push it, and we sold a few copies through them, and it just, and then that was okay. Now we've got a physical thing that I can show people, and so a couple guys who wanted to start up their own comic books had bought our comic through the mail because we advertised it in the Comics Buyer's Guide. So a couple people who bought it through that were like, well, you seem like you could do a comic. We're starting up our own thing. Why don't you do something for us? And so that's how I got on a comic called Megaton. And I did a story for Megaton, and I did a story for another guy who is self-publishing called Moses Figuera, or Mr. Moses. He's self-publishing his own weird comic. So I did something for him, and I did something for Megaton, and then I had pages from that I could show the next guy. And there was always just, okay, well, who's hiring? Who's got something? Where can I get some work somewhere? And I just was working my way up the food chain there, trying to get to where I wanted to be. And where I wanted to be was, I thought Marvel Comics. I thought that was the end goal for me. Was I always wanted to do something in Marvel. I mean, in the back of my head, I had this character I had created when I was a kid called Savage Dragon. And I was like, I want to eventually be doing Savage Dragon comics. but I don't want to do that right away. I want to have some fun and do some other stuff and work on some other characters. I didn't want to start, because in my head I was like, if you start Savage Dragon, you're going to do that for the rest of your career. And it was like, well, I don't want to start the rest of my career now. I want to, you know, I don't want to be doing the book that I'm going to do for the forever and immediately. Let me date a little, you know. So I did whatever I could, and so I worked at a comic company called Americomics or AC Comics, and did some stuff for them. Then I worked at Megatime, and then I worked at there was a company called Eclipse Comics at one point, and I did a book for them. I did a book called The DNA Agents, and then you know, and I kept pestering the editor in chief over at Marvel, keep showing him my stuff, bam, 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 keep drumming, pounding that drum, and then somebody at DC too was like, all right, well let me keep going on that one, and then eventually somebody there gave me a break. Jim Shooter gave me a break, and he saw my portfolio and he's like, "Oh, you're a professional now," and I was like, "Yes, I am." It's like, "I'm going to do something for Marvel Fanfare." I'm like, "Awesome! Let's plot this out at the convention." It's like, all right. So the two of us sat down in the hotel lobby and plotted out a story. And then I went home and I drew it. And then at that point, I had the ultimate samples because it was Hulk and Thor kicking the shit out of each other. And it was like, well, I do that better than anything. That was big guys pounding the piss out of each other. I can do that all day long. It was all the other stuff of characters actually sitting around a table talking or doing normal stuff. That was the struggle. But characters just wailing on each other, it's like, I can do that all day long. So, you know, those samples actually got me the DNA Agents, which over at Eclipse. And those samples got me a fill-in issue on Spider-Man. And those samples got me some DC stuff. They caught the eye of a editor over there named Mike Gold. And Mike Gold was championing my stuff. He wanted me on the Teen Titans, but Marv Wolfman was not having it. It's just like, no, this guy's terrible. So I had done an issue of Adventures of Superman with Marv Wolfman, and I don't think I impressed him on that one. And then I did, what else I did? Just various things, and it was just. Eventually, I got on the Doom Patrol. That was my first kind of regular DC something. I did 10 issues of that, and then I jumped from that to working over at Marvel. I did the Punisher for a little while, and then I jumped from that to. I thought I was going to go. I really liked the character Nova. When I was growing up, Nova was a big one for me. I love that book. So I wanted to do Nova, and I had pitched it to Terry Cavanaugh, who's doing a book called Marvel Comics Presents. So I pitched him on a serial of Nova in Marvel Comics Presents, and I was going to write it, and I was going to draw it. And so he'd given it the green light. So I was like, all right. I was struggling on the Punisher. I was not a happy guy in the Punisher, mostly because it was grounded in real life, and characters were, you know, the size of actual human beings. And when they punched each other, they weren't going through walls. They were just kind of, you know, it had to be more kind of realistic. And I was like, I want to do superheroes. I want to do bigger than life stuff. So when the Nova thing got the green light, I was like, all right, see you later, Punisher. I got to go. And my editor on that wasn't too happy. And then that collapsed. It didn't end up happening. It turned out that no, we're going to do Nova is going to be in the New Warriors, and the story that you had planned for Marvel Comics Presents, it's not going to work in terms of what's going on in New Warriors. So that story's not happening. It was like, oh, great. I quit my monthly book to do this other thing. And now this thing doesn't exist. Awesome. But Terry Kavanaugh is like, well, here's an Excalibur serial if you want to do that. It's like, it's not a book I even read. I don't really know who these characters are, but I got nothing else, so I'll do your Excalibur thing. And then I started grinding away on that. And then I had those samples of those characters jumping around, and that's what ended up getting me as a regular gig on Amazing Spider-Man. And then it's like, all right, keep going on that. And then, and then that led into eventually Image Comics.
Wow, that's an amazing story, man.
But that was all. It was all just scrambling to get where I wanted to be, because it's like I got this place I want to be, and I want to be doing my own stuff. And and my thought initially was first make my name as much of a name as I can make for myself, so that when I do start doing what I really want to do, the Savage Dragon, that you're going to have an audience, because to me in my brain it was building up an audience is going to be really tough starting from scratch, starting at nothing, because I did that initial fanzine years and years and years ago, self-published, self-distributed, banging on doors trying to get anybody to notice. And it was like, I know that's a grind and that's a struggle to build yourself up from that. So I thought, okay, let me go about it, trying to build a name, doing something in mainstream comics so people know who the hell I am. So kind of that was kind of the route I went, rather than your route, which is I'm going to start at the bottom, damn it, and I'm just gonna. It's like, fuck you, buddy, but I know that's a tough one. More power to you, man. If you can make that one work, more power to you, because that's tough. But
you're the type of person that you like to kick doors down. You know what I'm saying? Kick the doors down. And that's kick the doors in, and that's
no. The thing is that you are in it. The nice thing about going your route is that you don't have to do any of those crappy things that you're unenthusiastic about. And that is the grind of working at a Marvel or DC, is that you don't get the gigs that you want. You get the gigs that are available and that they're willing to give you. So it's like, did I set out in my career to be like, oh, I really want to do the Doom Patrol? It's like, no, that wasn't a dream to do the Doom Patrol. It wasn't a dream to even do. It certainly wasn't a dream to do the Punisher, and it wasn't even a dream to do Spider-Man, because I was like, I'm a Jack Kirby guy. I'm not a Steve Ditko guy. I want to do the Hulk. I want to do Thor. I want to do Fantastic Four. That's the stuff for me. Those are my guys. Spider-Man, it's like, holy crap, what am I going to make out of this? But worked out all right.
I mean, hey, more power to you, man. Because I would have hated. I'd have been complaining. Yeah, man. Look, I don't want to do this shit no more.
You find a way. All that stuff, you find a way. And the nice thing about working with other people and being forced to do stuff that you're not comfortable with is that you have to rise to the challenge. And it's like, if I'm writing my own book and drawing my own book, there's no horses showing up. That's never going to happen. Why would I ever have a horse show up? I don't like drawing horses. Forget it. But if you're sitting there on somebody else's stuff, and that's your assignment, and somebody says, and then Venom shows up and he's riding a horse. You're like, holy crap, I guess I'm drawing a horse. There's not any two ways around it, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you stretch. You get a stretch that way because it's like you're challenging, you're being challenged all the time. And you know, and with me, it's like I just want to be having fun. I want this to be a fun job. And my challenge on everything that I worked on was find the fun in this. Find a way that this is going to be fun. Where is it? Where is it? You know, and it may be I'm going to find an interesting way of telling this story, and I'm going to make my panels look crazy, and I'm going to put all sorts of crazy stuff on it. I'm going to find a different approach to do things, or I really like drawing statuary. I'm going to draw fucking statues. You know, you find an interesting approach to doing stuff.
So in the near future, like, will we see a movie of Savage Dragon?
I mean, people do ask on occasion. There's never been anybody who's been hammered on the door who can really make something. So it's not like, you know, there's not like some big name director is pounding on my door saying, I want to do it. God, let me do it. So if that happens, then it becomes a different story. But I know the process of pitching a TV show. I've done that. And there was a Savage Dragon cartoon that was in the early 90s. So, and you can watch it on Peacock if you want. It's fucking terrible.
I mean, did you have any
pitching a movie is an ordeal.
Right.
It takes an effort. It takes some knocking on doors. It takes being personable. It takes showing up. It takes a lot of writing. It takes a lot of rewriting. And I know that can be months and months and months out of your life where you're not getting done what you want to get done. And, you know, I broke into comics because I wanted to do comics. So that's how that works. You got somebody giving you the business over there or what?
No, that was just my boss. But I see, you know, with that, all that, talking about movies, and, you know, what do you think about the movies that are out on some of the characters that you've done over the years?
It's all right. They always have to do some creative reinterpreting when they do that stuff, because you can't really just take the first 5 issues of Spider-Man and just film those, because they're not going to hang together as a coherent story, you know. So, and they've also got to deal with the reality of, well, this is how real people move, and this is how things go on in a real world. You know, when I'm sitting there drawing comics, I can have somebody punching somebody and saying something funny to him while he's punching them. But when you're actually sitting there making a movie, you can't say shit while you're punching somebody. You can't just hover in midair and say a bunch of stuff. You can draw that though, and it works fine. But when you're actually in real life, characters are moving now. There's all these physical constraints that you don't even think about when you're sitting there drawing stuff. You know, we're sitting there drawing stuff. It's like, oh, I'm drawing Captain America, and he's got these scale mail on and stuff like that. And it's like, well, the scale mail somehow turns into cloth on his head, and there's no line dividing the two. It just becomes this other thing. And it's like, well, you can do that as a drawing. When you're making an actual movie, you got to make some decisions there. All right. So is it scale mail all the way on his head, or is it not? And the practical reality of scale mail is it's heavy, it looks weird.
Right.
There's all these things that kind of come, it can clatter, makes weird sounds. If you want a character walking around, it's like,
Yeah, man. Like,
and there's all sorts of decisions that need to be made. You like, oh, here's Superman in a Superman comic book, and it's like, oh, he looks cool. He's running around. He's got his costume on, but you're not sitting there thinking, well, what is that costume actually made of? Because in the time, those would have been tights at best, and how is a guy in tights going to look? I mean, maybe it'll look cool. Maybe you can pull that off. Christopher Reeve did, but maybe it'll look kind of dopey. So there's a lot of decisions you gotta make. Like, when you have that Superman symbol on somebody's chest, when you're drawing it, there's a black outline that's defining where the S is and where the yellow is and all that stuff. When you make that into a real thing, it's like, well, is that supposed to be just where the color meets the other color, or is there supposed to be an actual black line on there? That's a decision that you got to make. When you're sitting there drawing comics, it's like, hey, Batman can have this hunk of black crap that's just on his face all the time. That's just a shadow that somehow stays there on his blue mask. But when you're making a movie, you're not going to get the shadow to stay on just part of his mask in the front of his face. That doesn't work. Daredevil's costume in the comics is like 70% black. But you can't make a costume that's 70% black and 30% red, and the black's going to always be in a nice spot. And it's always going to be that. It's like, no, you got to make a decision. It's either going to be a black costume or it's going to be a red costume.
Right.
And if parts of it are going to be black and parts of it are going to be red, okay, those could be a weird decision, but that's not the costume that's in the comics anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of crap that goes on that you don't even think about. Or it's like, when you're drawing comics, like I can do anything. Oh, this character's running around that she's got high heels on. I can do that. That's easy. And you're a real person. Oh, well, running in heels isn't as quite as easy as it seems in the comics.
Right.
Fighting crime in a wedgie and not having part of your anatomy come popping out. Like, all right. Well, so I don't know. I went off on a weird tangent here, but
nah, it's okay. It's all right. Hey, I love hearing about those old stories, and I love hearing about the movies. Look, I would love that.
There's a lot of stuff. Also, when you're making a movie, you got to deal with the reality that people get old.
Right.
Spider-Man has been the same age now in comics. He's in 60 years, maybe 8 years of his life have passed over the course of 60 years. So he's gone from being a senior in high school to being a guy who's just out of college. And that took 60 years. So at best, he's maybe 25, 26 years old, because they want to still keep him young. But it's when you're sitting there making a movie, it's like, oh, let's start him out in high school. All right. Well, that guy's not going to stay high school looking for very long.
Right.
So then he's going to be in college, and then he's going to be out of college. It's hard to just kind of keep people in that status quo forever, because real people really age, and real people suddenly, wake up one morning, you go, oh, I got this weird hanging crap on the bottom of neck here that didn't used to be here before. And I got all these wrinkles around my eyes. What's going on with me? You know, real people have to deal with that crap.
Yeah, getting old. You know what I mean? Becoming old, man. And it's with the movies, Hollywood takes away from the comics is they take away the originality, and what they do is they put their own spin on it. And with us comic book readers, some of us want to see what they can do with the comics, if they ever researched did some research in comics and really looked at it and be like, okay, maybe we can do something with that. But and I know, we all know that none of these directors or none of these real people that are really doing movies are really paying attention to what we do,
Well, they
you know?
try. And the thing is that sometimes when they try, and even when they've gotten some comic book guys involved writing screenplays and stuff,
True, true. I mean,
it doesn't always translate. You know, things
true.
that work in a comic book panel. You know, we saw Sin City, and you can go, "Wow, Sin City is an awesome comic." Okay, and Frank Miller's going to work on this movie, and he's going to, write or co-write the screenplay, and suddenly you see those words spilling out of people's mouth in real time, and you go, oh, that takes a lot longer to say those words than is comfortable to watch in a movie. It's just like, that's taken too long and those guys are saying too much. Or, that scene where Marv is dragging somebody on the ground. It's like, that's an awesome scene in a comic. In a movie, it looks kind of weird. It's
Right,
like,
right.
it's hard to keep the composition the same from one medium to another. Some things work and some things don't. I don't know.
True that. And that's why I I watch some movies.
Yeah.
I watch some, not all, because
It's a very different process. It's a very collaborative process. You got a lot of working pieces involved, and suddenly you got somebody mouthing dialogue that you've read 100 times before. It's like, oh, I didn't really think the emphasis was on that word. That seems,
right.
it's like what, an actor is interpreting this now.
Right.
Savage Dragon opens his mouth, and you suddenly go, ah, that's not what he sounded like to me. What the hell?
Yeah, like
I had with the cartoon where I had numerous characters, but it's like, that's not how he sounds in my head. What the
yeah,
hell?
like it's just you know some like just like what you were saying with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is getting they have you know how many movies Spider-Man is out? Like I want to say
Yeah, a bunch.
a
It was
bunch.
like 8 of them.
Yeah, and
He's
I'm like,
like, yeah,
yeah, some
he's had
original.
8 movies on his own, and then he's been in a bunch of other movies, in that Avengers one and Ant
And it's
Man.
like, do they have something else? Do they have something else we want to see something else? We want to see
Yeah,
another Blade movie, another Spawn movie. Like something like maybe a Savage Dragon movie, something
yeah,
original, something.
whatever. I mean, there's often talk, um, whether it goes anywhere. I wrote a screenplay at one point. I wrote a couple, just farting around, but I don't think either of them can be made as is. But I'm not the guy who's going to sit down and edit them.
I mean,
Ugh, I don't know. I'm not. I guess I'm not so much of a movie guy that I want to take time out of my doing what I actually enjoy to knock on the doors to get something going that I might not be as enthusiastic about.
right, 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 right.
It's like this is a lot of work to get a movie made, and you got to deal with a lot of people to get a movie made, and then ultimately it can be Howard the Duck. And it was like, well, that was an awful lot of effort to produce
Yeah,
something that's kind of crappy.
a lot of
And
personalities.
and you know, and it can taint your thing that you've created, you know?
Hell yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
like,
why I was always. That's why I was always taught to never sell your original. Well, never sell your baby. Whatever
yeah,
you're doing, never give it up. Don't give it up because you never know what you can do with it. You never know what kind of great ideas you come up with, and then when you give it when you sell it to somebody or sell it away to Hollywood, they do something with it and they mess it up, and then you're gonna be like,
well,
damn.
yeah, I don't know. I'm torn because sometimes they do some great things, and sometimes they can adapt in a way. And also, you know, as much as you might, you know, dislike, oh, I didn't like the way they did the Watchmen. The comic was way better. But you know what? It brought an even bigger audience back around to the comic,
That's true.
and that helps. You know, and there are people who started buying the Savage Dragon comic book because they watched the Savage Dragon animated TV show. You know, and it's like I didn't think that animated TV show was a great animated thing. I thought it was, you know, it's fine. I haven't even seen every episode of it. Um,
Man,
but you know, somebody saw it and somebody was like, I like this character. I want to read this comic. And then you read it and they're like, holy crap, this comic's
that,
awesome.
man, how many autographs you signed?
I have no idea. It depends. Like in the heyday of Image, when I was doing a lot of conventions, that was quite a bit.
Oh man, like I bet your hands was hurting, feet was hurting.
Yeah, you know what though? It's not that different from drawing all day long. So it's like
Yeah.
you know, you get those muscles going where it's like, all right, I'm sitting there drawing for hours and hours and hours on end. I'm going to a convention. It's like, you know, all the time that next guy is nervously getting his books out of the bag. It's like
Uh,
I got a little rest here.
yeah, man. Like a lot of the older guys would be. I mean, a lot of the older guys are great at staying on top, and I'm like, man, it's some of the guys that when I came into this industry, I was like, damn, how do they stay on top like that? You know, and they just getting older by the minute. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn,
Well,
it's hey, whatever you can do to stay on top, man, do it, man. I mean,
yeah, the best you can.
hey, I mean, but I will say, do what you got to do. But it's about that time that we end the show.
All
Not
right.
we're gonna end it on a high note. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
We're gonna end it on a high note. We're gonna do it like this. I have a art tournament coming out soon where all artists get to come and join the tournament. It's gonna go like the Vision tournament,
Yeah.
the wild cards, and it's gonna be like the Super Bowl
All
final
right.
two. And all of these guys, whatever they do, the best. You can even join it, Eric. You can bring Rob Liefeld. You can bring all those guys up in this thing. Bring some star power in this motherfucker.
Yeah,
But
right.
I'll say because what I want to do is give the guys a platform to do their thing, and we're gonna probably have some prizes. Some
Uh,
Xboxes, some money. You know, some gift
yeah,
cards, something.
cool.
But I want to say thank you to the guys, to everybody that has viewed this project, and I want to thank you, Mr. Eric Larson, for coming on the show, for keeping up with me, man. And bro, shit, man, it's been a busy day today. And yo, it's been in your fucking face today. I'm tired, you know. I know he tired. I know Eric tired, man.
Well,
You know.
it was good hanging out with you for a while, and being
Well,
able to
one
do
of my
that.
one of my friends asked me, "What was your inspiration doing Captain America?"
Doing Captain America.
Yeah.
For me doing it, somebody asked me. I was like, all right.
I
Yeah,
mean, go ahead, go ahead. Say how you
yeah. I
feel.
mean, that was a definite like. Usually these kind of little Marvel gigs kind of come in spurts, and then somebody will be like, "Hey, you want to do this little thing?" And it's like, "All right." And then somebody else will be like, "Oh wow, I didn't know he's willing to do stuff for us anymore. Let me ask him if he'll do this other thing." And so I came about that. I think I was asked to do something for their 80th anniversary Marvel number 1000 book. So I did one page in that. And then somebody else was like, "Hey, you want to do 10 pages of Spider-Man?" Like, all right, I'll do 10 pages of Spider-Man. And then it was, "Hey, you want to do 30 pages of Captain America?" It's like, oh, hell yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah, he said Captain America the end.
yeah, that was a character that I always liked. Jack Kirby character. So I was like, oh, this guy's right in my wheelhouse. And
uh,
the editor on that basically contacted me and said, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" And it's like, "Oh, hell yeah, that seems like a lot of fun." And
yeah.
and there was not a lot of constraints put on me in terms of what I could do. So I just basically gave him a pitch on, this is what I want to do. I got this idea of doing this kind of a story, and yeah, that was one of those times where I didn't write down a whole bunch. It was
Hey,
usually when I'm working at Marvel or DC and stuff, I have to write out a big long proposal or a long plot or get everything approved by everybody. And that one, the editor and I were comfortable enough that he basically just, I told him, I want to do this. And he's like, all right, do it.
I'm sure you
So
watched the show today. No, I'm talking about brother. Sorry about that. Oh man.
all right, man. Well,
Well,
listen,
you know,
sounds like I got a dinner coming out downstairs, so I need to go deal with that.
oh yeah, well,
But,
I'm gonna get you off. I'm gonna get you going. You know,
all right, man.
hey, it's been fun. It's been
It's,
in your fucking face today. You know what I'm saying? We've been getting down with the get down for an hour and 50, almost hour and 50 minutes. But hey, thank you, Mr. Eric Larson,
all
for
right.
coming on the show. And we out
Thanks
of
for
here. Peace.
thanks for having me, man.
You're
I'll
welcome,
talk
man.
to you later.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, man.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.